Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay at home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight, got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet, cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey, everybody! Danny's back. We're back. We're whole. It's one whole podcast now. I know you've listened to recap episodes of Home Dad
Right?
Con.
How would anybody know I was gone?
I mean, I guess nobody would know, but now
We
they
didn't miss
do.
a week, did we?
We
We're
didn't miss a
professionals.
week. Yeah, that's what it is. Professionals. I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express once, and now I'm a professional. Sure,
Right.
that's how that works. But no, yeah, it's been a couple of weeks since I've gotten to actually sit across from you like this and be able to talk to you. You've been out traveling, and so
Mhm.
I'm excited to talk with you about that. Seems like everybody's been enjoying listening to the recap episodes, and I gotta say, I really do appreciate the guys who have reached out, because there was definitely a technical difficulty with the last episode getting posted correctly, because for some reason the audio from the previous episode is what actually got posted at first, and so I had to take all that down. And yeah, we got it
Whoops.
situated. Yeah, it happens, but yeah, just stuff like that. I really appreciate the fact that we have listeners who are people that are just like, we want this to be a good show, and we want to make sure that you're noticing these things. And so I'm all about that.
Is this the episode that went up yesterday?
Yeah, well,
Or day this?
yeah, it would have went up Tuesday or whatever. Would have been the second day of programming recap. And
Gotcha.
for whatever reason, the audio that it grabbed was from the first day recap. So it was like, and then what was funny was Keith Nagel was one of the first ones to reach out, and he's like, unless you and Danny talked about his coffee cup twice, two different episodes.
May have. It's a very entertaining story, Keith.
I was like, oh no, we did not, but I will definitely get that fixed real quick.
Well, cool. I'm glad somebody caught it fast. Yeah,
Yeah.
I read something about it on Discord, I believe, but I didn't really get into it, honestly, because I was
Sure.
very busy and I figured you had it handled.
Yep,
honestly,
it was all
I'm
good.
just like, I ain't worried about this. No,
Yep. Kyle Denny
but
was the other one that reached out about it too. So
yeah, good for them. Good for them. So,
but yeah, man,
fantastic.
it's been good.
Mhm.
I feel like just the fact that things are getting out there. I know that a lot of the different presentations have been posted on YouTube for our members and stuff, which is always really exciting. I still am planning to actually take those and put those into audio files. We're just trying to figure out how to do it, because I don't know if there's a way to do it privately. And so we want to make sure that we're honoring our members with having that done in that type of way. So still working on that.
I say they still count as podcast episodes.
Oh yeah, totally.
All right. So we got a bunch, we go from where we're at and add 20 episodes. Psh, easy. Barely did anything. Exactly. But yeah, I do really appreciate that we're working on that too, because I think since we really developed a paid membership year to year in the organization, and we've been talking about it, and we've made a little ad about it for the episodes a lot of times, and we want to give value, and this is value one that you really only should have if you were a member, and that's for members who missed the convention or just want to recap, or there's 3 breakouts. I wanted to hear 2 of them. So I went to one and I needed to hear the other one so I can get that. And it's really a very beneficial thing, I think. So I love that we're doing this kind of members only feel to it. You know,
I still want my members only jacket, but I'll take this in replace of it for now.
And some parachute pants.
No. Exactly. Got to have my MC Hammer pants as well.
Oh my God. Oh my God. No.
Yeah, it's too legit to quit, baby. You know that.
No. No, hammer go. Yeah. Yeah. I'm okay with him. You know, I should say I loved him while he was big. So I shouldn't say bad things about it, but
he was very entertaining. That is for sure. So
a lot of energy.
But hey, yeah, speaking of energy, how much energy do you have now that you've been traveling across Germany and are now back in the States?
I'm just going to say that jet lag is real and it's terrible. And I have been dragging all week. And I actually, I looked at Marnie, and she's 10 years younger than me. All right. So I'm figuring, you know, I'm tired, but that's okay. I'm middle-aged now, so it's acceptable. I'm like, I just feel so tired. And she's not even knitting. She's holding her knitting. And she looks over at me. She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, wow. You too? And I thought maybe I was getting a cold from the kids or something, or, you know, just that general malaise you get when you're getting sick. And I couldn't figure it out because, I mean, I knew there'd be some, but we got 8 and 9 hours of sleep. Like the first night we got back, well, not the first. Yeah, actually the first night I went to bed at, I think 8, right about 8 p.m. and got up about 4, you know, but yeah, still that's 8 hours. And it's so weird because I'm getting the right amount of, or an appropriate amount of sleep, but it's just not affecting me. It's not helping at all.
Yeah.
And now the sun's going down at like 6. So yay. Yay, living very close to, well, it's too far from the equator. That's where we're living.
Yeah. Well, that's like, so I have an Apple Watch, and we went camping this past weekend, and
cool.
We got there Friday, got unpacked and everything, or got our camper set up, went to bed, and woke up the next morning, and my watch was like, congratulations, you got 8 hours of sleep. And I'm like, what? Like, like the first time it's ever come across with that message.
It's unheard of.
I was like, well, I guess I had to go to where basically it gets dark and then be like, well, I guess I better go to bed. Plus also it was raining that night too.
But, yeah.
So it's like not a lot to do. You're not gonna. And so yeah, I was
having
like,
a cold meal. Yeah.
We didn't have a cold meal, actually. We had a warm meal.
Were you in a camper, you said?
We were in a camper.
Like a pop-up or a
it's a pop-up, but Corey is very talented when it comes to cooking things when we're camping, and so we had a electric skillet, like one with high sides, and she was like, well, how are we gonna cook, because my youngest wanted lobster pasta, a ravioli type of thing from Aldi. And so we just put water in the skillet and cooked it up. It cooked up perfectly fine. It only had to be in there for like 3-4 minutes. But yeah, so we had that and a couple other things, and then we're off to bed. So it was nice. It worked out really well. Yeah. So this stuff like that we've kind of gotten really good at kind of cooking on the fly, so to speak. But yeah, so we did have a warm meal actually, which was nice, and we had we got the camper popped up before it started raining. That was the other thing.
That was going to be my next question. Was it raining when you were putting it up, or
it was trying to? It was trying to. It was like, I'm coming for you. Time is ticking away very fast. And was able to get the awning, or get the canopy up out in front, and get everything situated, and got in there, and sure enough, it was like 15 minutes later, it just started raining, and we were like, I'm so glad we got in here.
Good timing. Yeah. Good timing. I almost always end up, if it's going to rain, it will be while we're setting up or breaking down. It just will. We even had one where we were out at Stone Mountain, which is actually the world's largest piece of granite, but it's near north of Atlanta, or west of Atlanta. No, anyway, it's near Atlanta. Northeast. Trying to remember Atlanta. It's been a long time, guys, 2 years. But we had a tent where, you have the bottom 6 inches or so is heavier material, and then it goes up into the thinner material. And it rained so hard, we piled everything on top of the air mattress, and we went and sat in the car. It just flooded everything. Every tent, we had I think 6 tents total with all of our friends, and they were all flooded. And I go back, and it's filled to that 6-inch high thing, and the air mattress is floating on it like a raft. And everything was dry, on the air mattress, but it had just come up over the sides and rolled into it.
Oh my
as opposed to
gosh.
it coming down from on top, because we had a tarp up. I always put a tarp over my tent, so just that extra layer. And man, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And I just went up to it and just took my boots off and stepped on it and just let it goosh back out and down to the river. It was an incredible amount of rain. And we all said, okay, this is it. This is from now on, we're getting a cabin. We're staying together at it. This is ridiculous. We're too old, it's just not worth doing it for things like this. And if we're not taking the kids, we probably would get a cabin if we could.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and I think that the events like that are the events that actually, I feel like they're almost like the make or break of relationships. A lot of times, either you're going to figure out how to make it work and not kill each other, or you're going to not figure it out. And, like you're both just going to be like fuming mad at each other. And it's just going to be this horrible experience where you don't really learn anything.
Where's your wife, Mr. Mercer? She was laying on the air mattress. And the rain came in. I don't know where she went.
You seen that Parent Trap movie?
That's right. Yeah. Nice.
She's out there in the lake somewhere.
I'm sure she's fine, officer. I just couldn't wait.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. So I will say this, though, like going away with your spouse for a period of time without kids, like you were talking about, is I feel like a necessity. Like, is it hard to do? Oh yeah. Are you gonna have to like really logistically think about it? Oh yeah, definitely. But in the end, it's like this magic syrup for like your relationship in a way to kind of keep you moving down the trail and being like, all right, like we can do this, and we can find things that we both like to do. And I think that because that's like one of the biggest things, like as you get older, as your kids get older, when they leave the house, you see other couples that like they can't figure that out, and unfortunately like they make decisions to split up or whatever it is. But if you can really work to make that happen, like that's going to be the glue that keeps you together, I think, going on in further years. But also too, like I know for Corey and I, when we had Hezekiah that summer, so he was born in February, and that summer we actually drove up to Indiana, dropped him off at my mom and dad's house, and then actually drove about 45 minutes north from there and went camping, just the two of us, and got to do some other things outdoors, like did some kayaking and stuff. And we both looked at each other when we were kayaking and we're like, this needs to be something that we try to do on a regular basis, where we go do something.
Yes.
What has that been like for you and Marnie? Like, I know you've got more kids than us. So
well, this trip was, we went to Germany and then Austria and then Czechia, and all three of those places Marnie has wanted to go since she was 8. Right. And so she has ancestors there. She has cousins living in Germany, and they're like 5 steps removed or something, but there is a line you can draw back to where, directly related to them. So a big part of it was her enjoyment of it and what she was going to, get out of it. And that's really the only reason I went. It wasn't my idea of a dream vacation. I've got a lot of anxiety and I don't think it was a good idea, but the reality of it is we got to spend every day doing whatever we wanted. Marnie likes to have things scheduled, and I have told her in the past, and we've gotten to this point again. It's been 20 years. We've figured a few things out that, okay, we can have one day scheduled as much as you want. You can have when we're leaving, when we eat breakfast, just everything. That's fine. And then we have a day where we just either do nothing, or we have nothing scheduled, or we just walk around together. And a big part of it was that getting back to like when we were dating.
Yeah.
And I heard there's a really nice restaurant around the corner, and they have this amazing, Chechen soup or whatever, and then there was this amazing mushroom soup that I still have to learn. I have to learn how to cook now because it was so good. And the idea of going, okay, well, where do we want to go and what do we want to do? And you really lose that with your kids. You have to think about everything that you do, and whether it's one kid or if it's 4 kids like me, or if it's 12 kids, it doesn't matter. You have to consider that child and everything that you do.
Yeah.
And getting the opportunity, and we've talked in the past about dating your spouse or dating your partner.
Yeah.
And finding that time to just be the two of you. So it was amazing time for us in that. And I told her at least twice, I said, this is what we really need. We need to get back to where it's you and I talking to each other, you and I spending time with each other, you and I doing what we want to do, and not, okay, this kid going here, this one has practice stopping here, this one, and just the constant logistics of running a family, and what I would say might be considered a big family. It's draining like everything else, even when everything's going great. So finding that time, and even if it's just something simple, camping is generally pretty simple, but it could be as easier as, hey, we're going to go to a restaurant. We're going to go find some place to eat. We're going to go to a movie together, or we're going to go sit in the hammock or sit out in the sun. And my kids are old enough to where I can say this: you're all going to stay inside, and you're not going to bother us. You're not coming out here. If you come out here, I'm going to yell at you, or whatever. But getting the kids to understand how important that is my point in saying that. Yeah. I don't really yell at my kids. I do, kind of raise my voice, but they know that it's in a loving way. I'm playing with them most of the time. But I mean, sometimes I yell at them, but most of the time it's very calm, and like, yeah, go to bed or whatever. But instilling in them an understanding, and this started with as soon as my oldest could understand anything, that it's her and I.
Yes.
We're a team, so you can't say, well, dad said no, so mom might say yes, and I'll go ask mom. That doesn't work in our house. We know, and a lot of times it's like, if someone says, hey, dad, I need to buy blah, blah for school or whatever, ask your mom. That's not my department. I'm not going to move into that. I'm not going to tell you can, because I don't know the budget. And the same thing with Marnie a lot of the time. So can I have, we've talked about before, can I have hot chocolate? Can I have some hot chocolate before I go to bed? Ask your dad. He's in charge of that part of your life, and she doesn't usually step over, and I don't step over.
Yeah.
But understanding that we're a team, and instilling in my kids the understanding too that we love each other.
Yeah.
We're a couple. We're not just your mom and dad, which, that's difficult for a child to really understand, but we're the most important people in our lives.
I think that's a missed concept in itself to iterate to your kids, though. I think a lot of couples miss telling their kids that, like, hey, like, in the end, like, you're going to leave this house,
right?
And it's just me and your mom. And it's like, so, or me and your dad, whatever, however that goes. But in the end, it's us, like, the kids move away and the parents are still they're in the house, and it's like, okay, what does that look like? What are you gonna do with that? You mentioned going outside, to just the two of you. I know one of the things that Corey and I used to do when we first got married is that we would this was before streaming services, so hold on to your seats, people. But we would take our computer and a DVD, and we would just go roll up into like a park, basically, before it got, dark and you couldn't be out there. And we would just have like a drive-in movie in the car type of deal, and push the seats back and enjoy watching a movie in the park. And like, stuff like that is the things that, just being creative in your relationship, like that kind of deal. So that idea of, now you can even do that. You just, any movie, and just pull it up on your, phone, or use your phone as a hotspot and pull it up on a computer type of deal. Seems kind of silly, but it's actually a lot of fun.
Well, yeah. And it's that time to yourselves.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of things, what Marnie and I do is we work together. There's a project or whatever we need to do. And you really have to watch, of course, with skill levels and your patience with the other person, whatever they might be doing. But a good example for us is lawn care. Marnie wants a big green lawn with big, like thick grass, and she loves that. And she's willing to put in the time and the effort to maintain it. And she enjoys cutting the grass. She'll get out, and I have the headphones that'll Bluetooth into my phone or whatever. So she'll get out and she'll listen to a book, and she'll just ride in circles basically until she gets it all done. And I go out and I do the trim work. And I try to get there first, because I think you should trim before you cut, but sometimes it's at the same time or whatever. But we're out in the yard doing work together.
Yeah.
Whatever that work might entail for that day, even if it's just picking up limbs or, whatever. Having that time where it's just the two of us doing this thing, and we're building our family, we're building our home in that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's also very important to remember, is that this is a joint effort.
Definitely.
And to be able, a lot of this is grind work. We've talked about it. This is laundry is a journey, not a destination.
Yeah.
We're never going to get it finished. But the things that we do beyond that, lawn care being a great example, just like putting up the lights for Christmas or Thanksgiving or Halloween or whatever you put up. I'm putting my lights up this week. I just want to say, as soon as it stops raining, because if I wait till Christmas, I'll die. It's too cold.
You're not wrong. That's actually really smart.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well, Greg Clapp, not me. Greg Clapp.
Greg Clapp.
He said, he's like, were you putting your lights up in November? I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to get them ready. He's like, it's too cold. I think what he said is he puts his up at the beginning of October, and then he's got the multicolored. So like, this is our Halloween lights now. And then there are Thanksgiving lights, and then there are Christmas lights, and then there are New Year's. He goes, I don't really ever take them down.
That's my dad's that way now, because he's getting up there in age, and so he went up a few years back and he put like white LED Christmas lights like on the peak of the house and down and things like that, and he's not taking them down. Like, I'm gonna have to deal with those when he dies. This is how it's gonna be.
There for the duration.
They are there.
I'm about there myself, but putting up lights and getting together about the decorating, what you're doing for Halloween. And a lot of times too, I mean, like with decorating, again, Marnie and I fortunately have the same kind of passion. We kind of like the same things. We want the same level of decoration, and it can be a little more difficult if you're not on, the same level with that. It can be,
yes.
Right. But it's still a time when you can be together and you're making the place better for your family.
Yeah.
As a couple, it's the two of you.
And that's, I was gonna say, like, showing good examples to your kids should be a high priority, honestly. And that especially with how you work together, what you're doing together, and that the other part of that being of, like, with dating, like with going on dates, is the importance of that. And like our kids now have gotten to the point where if we haven't gone out on a date and brought somebody in to come hang out with them and that kind of deal, we get, when are you going on? When are you guys going out next? So like, when is so-and-so coming over to hang out with us? You're like, oh, you're trying to kick us out of the house now. Okay. But they get it. Like, they enjoy having somebody come over and hang out with them. And they also see that it's, there's like not in as many words, but they see the importance of us getting out. And we've explained that to them multiple times too. So, but I think working together on projects is definitely that can go hit or miss for sure, depending on the couple. Definitely. Yep. I think Corey and I are the opposite of you and Marnie. Like I'm more the lawnmower, and she's the gardener type, and like she's very green thumbed when it comes to plants and stuff like that. She's trying to turn her house into Jumanji a little bit, but I'm living okay with it so far, as long as
good for you.
Yeah,
I hope you breathe it, clean the air.
Yeah, that's what she keeps telling me, is that it's going to clean the air. I don't know. I think she's just talking about me farting, but I'm not for sure.
The older you get, the more you fart, the more plants you need.
Yeah. Well, and
I see it. It's an algorithm. It'll give you.
And we have an almost 11-year-old, he's going to start smelling here pretty soon too. So,
Yep.
So all those things. But yeah, I think that it's important to definitely be moving in that direction. Even just, it's not something that's going to happen every year for, a lot of couples. Like, doing something like a trip or whatever every year might not be possible, just because here, I guess here's my thing, and this is probably the question that I would imagine most people while they're listening to this are thinking to themselves is, what was the structure while you were gone for your kids? Like who was watching over them, and what was that like?
Well, with the understanding too that my oldest is 17.
Correct.
So it's pretty close to where he could handle it for several days. He could make dinner, he can cook, he could do all the things. And my youngest is 9. So she doesn't need as much, supervision, but I would not trust them for more than 24 hours alone in the house. I just wouldn't. And I have no reason for that. I want to say there's no reason for that. It's just me thinking about my children. They are perfectly capable and competent.
Sure.
They could handle it, and if there's something weird happens, they just like, we're going to use the oven to make a frozen pizza. Okay. All right. What happens if you burn yourself? And they will give me a step-by-step of what they do. Now, when you actually burn yourself, what you actually do, of course, is probably going to be different in the moment because you're panicking. But I feel like they could really handle it, but I don't like it. I'm not quite ready to walk away from it. So we had Marnie's mom and dad come in.
Okay.
And they were great. We met them in Minneapolis, or near Minneapolis at Marnie's brother's house. And so we let them have our Suburban.
Yeah.
And her brother took us, or her sister-in-law took us to the airport and dropped us off. So we didn't have to worry about parking or paying for parking. And then they drove the Suburban home with the littles. And then we left the older two home by themselves for about a night, or, like one overnight and part of a day. So
sure.
A weekend at most. And the in-laws did great. Grandma and Papa did a fantastic job. They got everything done that really needed to be done.
Yeah.
And I canceled everything I could. And I said, these are the things you got to pick up this one on Monday. You got to pick these 2 up on Tuesday. I need you to take the bass in because my 10-year-old decided to play the bass. And
that's awesome. That's right. I remember you saying that.
But it's huge. And he's supposed to have a half, and he's got a 5/8, which is only a few centimeters taller from what they told me. But it's huge on him. I mean, it's twice his size in the case. So it looks like he's carrying a piano.
I was going to say, can he just basically fit inside of it?
Yeah, he can. He could get in with the bass easily. And
just
the cover is just really, and it's like not a cloth, but it's a fabric cover.
Yeah.
So it's not a hard case, right? But yeah, they got him, got the bass to school, got it home just fine. Everything's doing well, and everything was taken care of.
Nice.
They did things their own way, which is something that, if you're going to stay at somebody's house for practically 2 weeks, you get to. I've got to reorganize my refrigerator. It just, and I think it's the kids more than anybody else, but like I went in and I'm like, what? There's a paper towel in here. Why is there a paper towel in here? And I'm like, was it soaking something up? And it's a roll of paper towel. It's like 2 or 3 sheets together. And I unwrap it, and inside is 4 slices of bacon.
Oh,
cooked, crispy bacon. And I'm like, I mean, that's fine. But and also, and if you do this, you're a monster. I'm just going to say this. But I come home and we have these little small plastic bowls that we used to use for the kids as like little snack bowls and stuff. Yep. And they've kind of grown out of them, but I think I bought 15 or 20 at some point because we just use them all the time.
So they're not going away anytime soon.
No, we have a lot left. Yeah. And there was one sitting beside the toaster when I got home, and I looked at it and I'm like, oh, what's that? And it's got butter in it. And the butter's been there for a week.
You told me this was a thing that happens up that way.
And I looked at it, I'm like, and my oldest comes and goes, yeah, Grandma did that. She said that's how they do it up here.
There it is. Yep, I knew that was going to be the case.
Okay,
and you're like, I start twitching.
We got to put the butter in the refrigerator, but up here it doesn't matter. You don't.
Nope, you don't.
It just never. You don't have to worry about the bugs or the insects. You don't have to worry about the heat. Yep. It's not going to turn into a puddle. I mean, and it was like room temperature melted, so it was easy to spread on toast and stuff like that. And it's a great idea, but I can't get my head around it. I'm sorry. I can't.
It drives me nuts.
It's just like, why? No, no, you can't do that.
Put the butter away. Don't leave it out on the counter.
Cover it and put it away. Nope. Out on the counter.
Corey's over here laughing out the right side of me. She knows because she's guilty of it multiple times. So
what kind of monsters do this?
They live in the Midwest.
I guess
that's what it is. Monsters from the Midwest and their
Midwest
and their melted butter issues. What it comes down to.
So many issues. I'm gonna get her a t-shirt that says, "I'm a monster. I leave butter on the counter." And again, it's just a different way of doing things. Really, I do make fun of it, but it's just a different way of doing things.
Oh, sure.
And there was a lot of that when I came back, and I liked that, honestly. I mean, it was weird or odd, or that where is this, where is that, but it was the fact that my mother-in-law, who is an amazing person, and I love her so much, and I'm so thankful they came and watched our kids, but she has her own way of doing things. Like, they cooked dinner for the kids every single night. And I said, I just want you to know, we don't cook every single night. Tonight, because we record, I don't try to make a meal. We'll do sandwiches, or I'll put something in the crock pot maybe in the morning, but realistically, you're on your own. And again, my youngest is 9 and can make her own food.
Yeah.
She's not up to cooking yet, but she's venturing into that. But at the very least, she can do stuff in the microwave. And she knows what hot is, and she knows how to not burn herself. And she's as capable as an adult in those ways, in some scale. But they can handle all that. So Tuesdays, I'm like, no, I don't do Tuesdays. Friday is established pizza night.
There you go.
And if it's frozen pizza from the freezer, that's fine. If we get to order pizza, that's even better, but that's fine. It's whatever way we want to do it. And these are the things that we've established, because Friday night is kind of our movie night.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So we have pizza and watch a movie together. And usually they all make it through at least the first half of the movie, but it's got to be a really good movie to keep them for 2 hours, because a lot of times we can't find a movie that's good for people from 9 years old to 54 years old.
That's quite that's quite a swath you got right there.
There are movies, but it's more rare. So we'll watch something, and 2 of the kids will stay the whole time. The other 2 are like, can I just go play in my room or whatever? Go ahead. I understand. But we have those established things where we don't cook, or I don't cook. We don't have a meal. And they cooked every night. So I love it.
We call those fend for yourself nights, and they actually are nights that work really well for, especially if my anxiety gets to the point where I'm just like, I can't cook. Like, get whatever you can and just be fine with it.
Cereal is a perfectly fine dinner.
We haven't really gone that route
for dinner.
They haven't really gone that route. Like they're more of like ramen noodles or like Tostino pizza rolls. Like those are kind of their jams, and that's what they tend to make. So it works out really well.
Do your kids eat the ramen without cooking it?
Oh no, my son cooks the ramen.
No, my 14-year-old. I mean, I will go and
eats it like it's
pantry.
A cracker.
And yes.
Oh my God.
And he's standing there on his phone with a thing of ramen open, and he's eating it right out of the package. And I'm okay,
that's a whole different monster right there.
Right?
That's a whole
I don't know where you
monster.
learned this, or when he goes, it's good this way, Dad. And then of course it shatters like a glass plate.
And it goes everywhere.
And it's everywhere, all over the pantry.
It's an explosion in my mouth and all over your floor.
Exactly. And we call him our bear, because he's a lot like a bear. And how he eats, he just stands there and he's like, I want a marshmallow, and I want some ramen, and I like no. Take something, bring it out of that pantry, you monster, and sit it on the table with a plate or a bowl or something. But he doesn't want to cook it most of the time. I like it crunchy.
Interesting. Now my son will after he puts the brick of ramen in the hot water, will sit there and munch on the little like niblets that came out of there, like while he's waiting on it to cook. That's the only thing that he does, which I mean, for that I'm like, all right, that makes total sense, like a little pre-snack type deal. That works out. But to sit there though and pull the brick out and be like nom nom, like no
this is terrible. Again, you're a monster. You need to stop.
Oh, golly. So going back to your trip, though, I'm curious of this. What were some of the highlights for the trip? Because you were gone for 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks, yeah.
About 2 weeks. Yeah. What were some of the highlights that you enjoyed yourself personally, and then what are some things that you and Marnie enjoyed? Like,
well, in Czechia, they had a limestone quarry, and they're quarrying out, I mean, a city's worth of limestone. Literally, they built the majority of Prague out of limestone, and I mean, it's a very common product all through it, going back hundreds of years. And as they're opening these areas out, of course, limestone and water don't mix well. So you have a lot of areas where the water has hollowed out caves.
Yeah.
And there was one that we went to, and this was my highlight, was going to the quarry, being able to see the quarry. We couldn't get down there to it, of course, because it's operating, but then going to an established cave, a limestone cave with, lighted pathways and actual stairs built in and handrails and all those things, and being able to walk around in that limestone cave. And I love caving. Just in general, I will go,
me too,
just wherever. And getting into that and being able to learn about the history of it. We also learned about the history of, them quarrying limestone. There was originally, this cave was found because the story is there was a little boy who was shepherding his sheep, and he saw a little thing of smoke coming out of the ground. So he went and looked at it, and down inside was a bandit, and the bandit had a bag of money. And the bandit said, "Here, I'll give you a coin if you don't tell anyone about this." And the little boy said, "I swear I will not." So he takes the coin and he goes back to his village. And of course, he talks about it. And he tells everybody about it. And the bandit, of course, knows that the kid's not going to keep his word. So he scuffs out the fire and he puts a stone over the top of the chimney. And the villagers come back and they can't find the hole. They can't find the smoke. They can't find the bandits. They assume the kid is a liar and a thief and stole that money and told the story so that he could get away with keeping it.
Oh no.
And they beat him.
Oh no.
Like you would in the 1300s, to a villager kid for stealing, and brought him back. But it was actually found out that there were a group of bandits there that were making counterfeit coins. And this was a long time ago. And back when you would bite a coin to see if it was real, it was before that. They didn't do that yet. So that's the kind of the history. And they have a mannequin of a lady throwing out some stuff into the back of it, and a big pile of coins that the people that visited it for the longest time would throw coins in there, and they finally
like a wishing well type of deal.
Yeah, but just like a dry basin.
Yeah.
And then getting all of that, which was cool and amazing. They have the chimneys that go up, and they're created because of the limestone hollowing out and all that stuff. So you've got this big long, tubes that don't actually go straight, and they have animals that would fall into it and get buried in the mud, and then you'd find their remains, and that's how they know, there were people here, and coins and the stuff that they threw out after they ate. And there were two of the coolest things. Is one was, and I don't remember what the name of the dinosaur was actually, but it's like the proto rhinoceros. Before the rhinoceros looked like it does now. It looked kind of like this, and they have one of its skulls.
Oh wow.
A skull of, and it's not the whole thing, so you kind of have to look at it and figure out what it is. But then they found a human skull and a part of a jawbone. And originally the person that found it, and this was hundreds of years ago, said, "Well, I think it's about 50,000 years old." And everybody in Europe said, "No, it can't be 50,000 years old. We figure it's probably 25,000. That wouldn't make any sense for it to be 50,000. That would be the oldest thing that we've ever found for human remains in Europe." And turns out it was actually carbon dated later at 47,000 years old.
Wow.
And it's the oldest human skeletal remains found in Europe, if I understand the story correctly.
My goodness.
So of actual, Homo sapien remains.
Yeah.
And I know it was really cool. And the guy that was telling us was amazing. His name was Joseph, and he had his degree in geology, but could have had it in history. He was so intelligent. He was so energetic. And he was telling us about all these things, and he said, and what we think is we think that, this was a female and this is this, and that, they had green eyes probably, or green or blue eyes. And people are like, wow, how would you know that? And he said, well, because this was a time when Homo sapiens would breed with Neanderthals. So the Neanderthals is where you get the green and blue eyes, but after that, the brown eyes became much more prevalent. So, and my wife looks at me and goes, you got your eyes from Neanderthals. I'm like, shut up, woman.
What are you trying to say there?
We don't need to talk to her. Can we get her off the tour? She doesn't need to be here. But it was just an amazing historical story. Yeah. And then being in the caves and seeing all of the stalactites and stalagmites and watching them, and looking at, okay, so that's grown a centimeter in, I think it was 100 years or something. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
Were they wet caves? Like they were actually active? Oh, wow. That's really cool.
Yep.
Nice.
Actually, it was really funny because we stood by at one point, he's telling us about the stalactites, and one of them drips on his head. He's like, oh, no, that's okay. And he holds his hand out and it drips on his hand, and he drinks it. And he goes, this is very good water. And we were all like, how long do we have to wait before another drop? He's like, could be an hour. Could be a year. We don't know, because of how slowly it grows. We're like, oh, come on, man. You took the only drop of water in the whole cave. But yeah, it was very wet. And to get out of it, you go all the way down and around and all this. And to get out, you actually climb up a chimney they've shored up all the sides with, bricks and limestone and stones, and a stainless steel circular stairway now takes you all the way back up to close to the top. And that was hands down my favorite part, because
that is cool.
The architecture was great, and we went to a riverboat tour, and we went to a concert, and it was, all these amazing things. But I'm not we went to this dinner in Austria that we're sitting in a restaurant that you can see the mountains all around you, and you think Sound of Music, this is where Sound of Music was filmed, right? Yeah. And so it's mind blowing. And everybody's there and they're dressed up, and we have the 4-course meal with the specific forks and spoons for each part of it. And of course you get a glass of wine with it. And I'm sitting there going, I don't ever want to do this again.
No,
I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to be here. I don't fit in here. You can look around this room and go, why is that guy sitting here?
Right.
And we couldn't really bring any dressy clothes. I mean, I guess we could have, but we really didn't have the place to put it in the baggage or whatever. So all I had is like a nice black polo shirt, and then my normal cargo pants. And by the way, what you don't wear in any of those countries is cargo shorts.
Oh, shoot.
I right. I looked it up. I'm like, what should I wear? When I was thinking about weather, and this lady has things. So just want to tell you, they don't wear a lot of shorts here. Everybody wears long pants. I'm like, well, I guess I could do that. And nobody wears cargo shorts. There's no way that you can say I am an American more than showing up with your overstuffed cargo shorts with the pockets full of your ratchet set and a ham sandwich or whatever that joke is.
Nothing says America more than cargo shorts.
I don't like this. I feel attacked, but you could tell when we got there, and I'm walking around and I'm like, and one of the tour guides asked, he said, well, so do you just want to know, for curiosity, because I can do this. I want to know if you can do this. Can you look around and kind of guess where different couples or individuals are from? Right? Like what country they're from, if they're from France or from Spain, or, where they, what part of Europe they came from. And I'm like, I can tell the Americans. And he's like, well, I mean, that's kind of an easy one, Danny. I'm like, yeah, I know. Cause that guy right there in the cargo shorts, he's like, yeah, those are so funny. I don't know why you wear those. I'm like, I'm off this tour, man. I'm out of this boat. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
I feel attacked. Get me out of here. Jeez.
And then the coolest part about it was I need to talk, and I need to be able to read signs. And in Germany, I figured out I got really depressed first day. I can't speak to anybody, although everybody does kind of know English, so I could get around it. But my feelings of it is I can't talk to anybody. and I can't read any signs. This is the worst idea ever. I don't know why I'm here. And it really overwhelmed me.
Yeah.
So I tried to learn some German. I tried to pick up, spellings of words and pronunciations and things like that. And so we're in Austria and we're going to do the riverboat tour, right? And there's a guy that opens the gate for us, and he's, very well manicured, wearing a nice, sports coat and all that, and looks, dressed like, he's the guy that's here to promote things. And I noticed he's got a pin of Saint Bridget on his lapel, and I'm like, is that a Saint Bridget? And he said, yeah. And I'm like, oh wow. And he goes, well, yeah, I'm from Ireland, and I have a terrible Irish accent. I'm gonna try. And I'm like, what? And he's like, oh yeah, and I'm like, I cannot believe I came all the way to Austria and I got an Irishman showing me around on the river,
That's interesting.
and it was amazing because it's such an actual melting pot of people, where we talk about America is absolutely a melting pot, and I love it. But finding someone like that, and it wasn't just the only occurrence of people that had actually come from other countries to work in Austria, which is a great idea, by the way. It's a beautiful place. But having that interaction, little things like that, was my second favorite part.
That's awesome.
Being able to meet people and talk to them. And fortunately, they knew English. There was a moment of, I really felt my privilege, because everybody almost could speak at least a little English, and they'd learn it in school. So everybody has a base of English in all three countries, right? And like, there's only 11 million people that speak Czech, or that are from Czechia. I always mess up that word. So there's only 11 million people. So for me to even know how to say thank you, the guy goes, oh, how did you say that? I know you could say that. But he said, for my degree, when I was doing my thesis and things like that, anything I wanted published, I would have to rewrite into English, because there's only 11 million people in the world that speak my language, but there's about 6 or 7 billion who speak English, right? And I'm walking around, this is so incredible. And Marnie said, this really makes you think about it, because if anybody comes to America, we kind of expect them to speak English, to learn English. That's what they have to do. And we almost demand it.
Yeah.
Now we're in other countries where we demand people speak English to us, and we don't have to learn German, and I'm just like, this is, wow, that's depressing, babe. Thanks. I feel terrible now. I feel like a horrible human being, and I haven't even ever done this. I think I'm fine with it. And she said, well, it was just something to think about, because when you go to other places, and this is again why I want my kids to go to college and I want them to travel abroad. It's that understanding globally of how things operate, just so enriching, I think, for a person to become the best version of themselves, to use a cliche term. So yeah.
So I was looking on the map here. So you said you went to Prague, right?
Yep.
Did you ever hear of a city called Kutna Hora?
No, I don't think so.
So this is something that a buddy of mine from in that area that grew up there. Actually, I think he's maybe from Prague, but Kutna Hora has a chapel that is adorned with 40,000 human skeletons.
Oh, cool!
Inside of it. It's pretty wild. They had a like a plague or something that ran through the town, and they didn't know what to do with all the bodies, and so basically like they did something to like decompose them quickly, and then used their skeleton remains to basically like adorn the inside of this church. And it's pretty wild looking. But yeah, I wasn't sure if you had kind of made it to that area. It's sort of south of Prague. But
well, we went to, when we were in Austria, we went out to Hallstatt, which is a beautiful, breathtaking, giant, clear, beautiful lake with mountains all the way around it. And that's where the salt mine was. And we took a tour of the salt mine. And when we were done with the salt mine tour, we went down into Hallstatt, into the town. Yeah. And the guy said, okay, so if you go left here, you'll go to the cathedral, which was breathtaking and made me cry, like almost every cathedral did in the whole place. And then beyond that, if you go in, that's the bone house. And it's the house they made out of bones. It's the the place where they put all of their dead. And and just kind of that, obviously wasn't that many people as you'd be,
but still though, yeah, like that's that's not an uncommon practice over in Europe for sure. So
it's very surprising.
Yeah. And it's and it's like it's like a thing of honor actually to like to do it. So it's
cool. Well, that would make sense. Yeah, that would make sense. So before we finish up, I want to say, if you ever get a chance to go to Germany, you personally, Brock,
I've been there.
Have you been to Cologne?
No, I haven't. I was down in the south west. I was in Frankfurt, Freiburg, that area, Heidelberg.
Okay. All right. If you can get back and go to Cologne, one, buy yourself some cologne, because it's a great pun. It's what I did, and I'm going to use it for many years. Like, I bought this in Cologne. Haha. But the second part, and more important, is the cathedral. The cathedral in Cologne is over 550 feet tall, if I remember my numbers correctly. And it took 600 years to build.
I see the picture of it. It's gorgeous looking.
I mean, I've been by skyscrapers. I understand the enormity of human creation. But this is a completely different feeling. And it's covered. I mean, the outside, inside, everything is covered in artwork and statues, and there's reliquaries, and there's actually a sepulcher or whatever it's called for where they have a person interred inside it. His body is inside it, and they've got. It was just mind blowing. It was mind blowing how big it is, and it was 600 years.
Yeah.
So when someone thought of it and conceived of it in like the 1200s, with, I guess, how do we measure stuff? Well, we put knots in a rope, same distance apart. And this is, I mean, it literally less than hand tools, and people worked on it for generations of people worked on it who would never see it built.
Right. They would never get to see it finished. Yeah.
Right. They just had to go with, this is what it's going to look like someday. It was the most impressive structure out of a lot of amazing architecture throughout our trip that we saw.
That's cool.
It was truly mind blowing, and you can see it from anywhere in the city, which was really cool too. But again, if by chance you ever, get to go to Cologne,
it's on my bucket list, because
take a couple of hours, and just wander around inside. And I mean,
where did you fly into, by the way, since you were kind of up north? Like,
we flew from Minneapolis. We flew to Munich.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, we flew to Munich, and then we took another flight to Cologne.
Oh, nice. Okay. So you got to fly right into Cologne.
Yep. And then on the way out, we went from Prague to Brussels to Newark to Minneapolis.
Okay. That's cool, man. Yeah, it's on my list, man. It really is, to get back there. Corey knows that too, because I do a lot of family heritage research, and I'm almost positive that there's some like remnant of maybe even both sides of my family actually still in Germany. So it would be awesome to be able to track them down, just to meet them.
We saw Marnie's family. Their name was Vermeerkirchner, I think. Yeah, I think it's Vermeerkirchner. But anyway, met their family again, and they have a family book. That's cool. Was the last thing it was updated. It was like the 80s or whatever. So actually her name is in it, but her siblings are not in it. So it was very interesting. And then, because that's her mom's side of the family, if I understand correctly, and her dad's is in Prague. And we went to, which church was it? But we went to a thing where her family headstone was there from the, I don't know, 1500s or something. I mean, it was just, and everything. We went into a bookstore in Austria that has been there and operating in one way or another since before the printing press was built.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Before America became a country, which, if you think about it, wasn't that really that long ago. I mean, I feel like we're very old.
No, we are so young.
Like,
we're
like on our chin. I mean,
we're barely even teenagers in the eyes of the rest of the world.
And it's mind blowing for me. I mean, to go, and we went in and we actually went and we bought, she was looking for a book. I don't remember what it was, but I bought graphic novels for two of my kids. Cool. My oldest and my 10-year-old, they're my 10-year-old is learning German-ish, you know.
Yeah.
But my 17-year-old is definitely, he's taken 2 years and he wants to study in Germany and all this. So he's really concentrating on it. So I got him a manga book that he hadn't read before, but it's all in German.
That's cool.
And he's like, oh, I cannot read this. Like, no, but you will be able to. Yeah. You'll learn it, right? And then the other one, it's a much simpler. It's My Hero Academia, and it's a very much more common manga, and it's an anime, and it's again dubbed into English and subtitles and all that. But this was in German. He's like, oh, Dad, I think I've got this book. And I'm like, you do not have that book, son. He goes, I'm pretty sure I've read this. I'm like, open up one page and read it. And he goes, it's in German.
I gotta ask this though. I'm curious. Did you try any Haribo gummy bears while you were over there? Did you?
Yeah.
Did you notice the difference in them? Because they're made different over there than they are here in the States, and they taste totally different. And they're tasty. They're really good. I mean, I like them either way, but you can definitely tell the difference in them. And that was one of the things when I was over there, when we were in Freiburg, they actually had a Haribo like bulk shop, so you could go in there and just get scoops of all kinds of stuff. And I came back with so much because I was over there when I was in college, and so it was like, you know, the Coca-Cola gummy bears that or the Coca-Cola bottles type of deal, and they
wax bottles.
No, not wax. They were the gummy, the gummy ones.
Yeah.
But they tasted like a freaking, like you were sipping on Coke out of an actual bottle. It was amazing.
That's
just
awesome.
Stuff like that. So yeah, I wasn't sure if you had done that or not, because I feel like you miss out on it if you don't get it, because that's where it's from.
Yeah, and I loved the difference in snacks and foods, and just like you don't get water ever, and if you do ask for water, it's
my god
water.
Yeah, don't ask for tap water. You will get laughed out of the restaurant.
I am dying. I'm like, how do you get your water? How do you get, because there's not any vegetables either. You're not eating a lot of greens or anything. And I'm like, I am dehydrating as we speak. And Marnie looks at me and she says, beer.
Yep.
I'm like, there is no way.
Tell me you found the beer vending machine. Did you find a beer vending machine?
Machine? No, I didn't know there was one. No.
Yeah, they have beer vending machines, or at least they did when I was over there. But this was this was early 2000s, and it was, you could get beer out of vending machines. Even at even on a university campus, you could do it, actually, which was pretty wild. And it was, room temperature, warm, whatever you want to call it. So, but yeah.
That's funny. That is funny. I mean, and I did try several beers, and everywhere we went, I did tell, I'm like, Marnie, I'm like, are you going to have a beer? And if she said no, I'm like, okay, so give me the beer you would eat with this meal.
Yeah.
And I know what's going to happen is I'm going to take a couple of sips. I'm not going to like it, and I'm going to give it to Marnie, and she's going to finish it. And that's just, I know this, this is what we do. But yeah, it was amazing to just, we went and was finally in Czechia, I think, was where we've had it. And there was basically an American bar. They had very different burgers. It was wildly different burgers. Like one burger was, I don't remember what was on the burger, but it had one of those really long toothpicks, and it had 2 chicken wings on the top. And
interesting.
Like hot wings. I'm like, you have hot wings, and okay, whatever,
You should be used to that, though. I mean, it's in Wisconsin. You get all kinds of weird stuff put into a Bloody Mary. So.
Into a Bloody Mary, yeah. And the lady came around with an ice cold pitcher of water and 2 glasses, and it was like, Americans, okay, you want some water? And it was, you had to pay for it or whatever. But yes, I do. I absolutely,
like, keep it coming, lady.
Right?
I'm dehydrated.
Please, I am dying. I've got a headache. I don't know what's going on. And they have vegetables, but they're all root vegetables, or they're just like pureed into something. Like the mushroom soup was amazing, but it's mushrooms and potatoes mainly, and a little bit of dill. And there's no greens at all, and no like cucumbers, or anything. You don't get any, water from vegetables from your food. And that is actually, I didn't recognize how much water I take in through my food, because I like vegetables and greens and all that. And it was hilarious.
Did you get to try some good scotches while you were over there at all?
I did not.
Okay.
No. Didn't ever smoke a cigar either.
Okay.
There were a lot of people that told me, I had at least 3 people say, hey, you can get a Cuban over there. You should try a Cuban. And I've had a Cuban cigar before. Yeah. It wasn't that impressive, I mean, it was fine. It was good, but the Nicaraguan, to me, is a better tobacco, and it's my favorite. And I think just because I've developed the taste for it. But if I'd started on Cubans or something, I maybe. But yeah, I didn't really get into any alcohols very much at all. It was just I was very sober.
Sounds like a great trip though. All or like honestly, like I would definitely be in the same sort of like mindset of the limestone cave, that whole thing. That would have been definitely a highlight.
Yeah, I could live there.
That sounds cool. Well, and where I grew up at, we actually have like very large limestone quarries in Indiana. Most of the like government buildings are actually built with the limestone that came out of the quarries from my hometown.
Yeah.
And so when you were talking about that, I'm like, oh yeah, like I know that, because like one of my dad's best friends is actually one of the top, if not the top, hot air balloon pilot in the country. And we've actually taken his hot air balloon and went like down into like one of the quarries before with it, which was awesome. So yeah, that would have been fun to have gotten to see that whole adventure for that. I'm definitely keep that in mind for when I get over there. But I love the fact that you got to go over there, and that you and Marnie got to spend that amount of time, just the two of you.
Yeah.
And I hope that anybody listening to this tries to work out some sort of game plan to where they can, get something together where they and their spouse can get away for, even if it's just a day, like,
and we're not talking like go to Germany. This was a once in a lifetime thing. And we're, again, we're old. We've saved up our money, but yet we've talked about date your partner, find that thing you can do.
Yeah.
Go to lunch, just make a lunch and take it out in the backyard.
Exactly.
Or whatever. Just find that time where it could be just the two of you, whatever time that looks like for your family,
Go find a park nearby or something. And just you don't have to go far. That's the nice part. So, maybe if your neighbor will watch your kids for a couple of hours and you can go do that, then make that happen. But yeah, hopefully what people take from this, because this was a great conversation. Like when you came back, Corey was like, what are you guys going to talk about tonight? And I was like, hopefully we're going to talk about Danny's trip and how it's important for couples to find time to get away. And so I'm glad that we took the time to talk about that. And I thank everybody for listening to the show. And we'll talk to you all next week.
All right. Good night, everybody.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.